Hey Sagittarius, welcome to your 2020 year ahead spread. I'm finishing the year off with you, and I'm going to look into the first half of your year and then do the second half of your year, and then I will pull a little angel meditation card and we'll just see how things are going for you. So, alright, here we go. We have January, February, March, April, May, June. Okay, so Sagittarius. We're starting off the year with Justice in reverse, which, I mean, so I've pulled pretty much for all the signs by this point, and the Justice and Lovers card have come up a lot, but Justice has always been in reverse, and the Lovers has also been in reverse. So, what I want to say with Justice in reverse, and what I've been saying to the other signs who pulled this card, is that it doesn't mean that justice is not available, but I think you're kind of, and I think all of us collectively really, which is why I mentioned it like that, it's like collectively I think we're learning, and not even learning, we all fucking know things are unfair. We know the world is not a fair place and that there has been a lot of injustice. So this doesn't, I think, come to us as a surprise in our lives personally or collectively to see injustice or to see that things aren't really working out. But I think that the Justice in reverse is kind of calling on us to be a little bit innovative or rethink about how we are approaching the process of justice. How are we going to get this card upright? How are we going to make set things right, so to speak? And so it's I guess it's kind of the question I would ask is can you change the system within the system? And the answer might be not really. I mean, I feel with Justice in reverse, it feels kind of like a call for you to think differently about how you're going to make things fair and how you're going to make things go right for yourself. So I said that to someone else, but it's kind of like Robin Hood energy, or it's kind of going more, instead of trying to save the entire world, trying to fix things up a little bit in your more immediate surroundings. So it's you're on this quest for justice, Sagittarius, where you want to put things right and kind of get the year off starting in a better place. But I think part of the invitation for you is to claim your own power and claim your own ability to build the community that you want to build, or to build the world or the system that you want to exist in. And even if you start small, that there's this Baba Yaga quote where she says something it's better to be the queen of rats and crumbs than to basically hustle for your worthiness. I don't remember the exact quote, but what she was saying is be the queen or the king, or kind of be the person of your own world. Give yourself credit for what you've built, even if it's small, even if your immediate impact in making justice, for example, is kind of not widely recognized or celebrated. It doesn't matter. You are still the king. You are still in power. You are still in control of what you manifest. You are still the person who's in charge of your view of the world and your life experience. And so I feel the king in February is just kind of a call to step into power. And you have so many king energies coming up. Dude, you have the King of Cups and the King of Coins and the King of Wands. So I really feel, Sagittarius, that this energy is really about you exploring these different facets of yourself, first of all, energetically. So here we have the earth energy in February, and water, and your own fire energy, but also to give yourself some credit. And yeah, I think really finding the word I also keep using for pretty much everyone is inner locus of control, but meaning that you're able to build what you want to see in the world, and that this, and also with these kings, yeah, it just feels very powerful. It feels very you not waiting for permission. It feels like you kind of taking the reins on everything and starting everything and organizing everyone and being a leader is really... So then we got the Hierophant, an upright position for March, and this feels a little bit like you dealing with some kind of institution, perhaps, like marriage or higher institutions or corporate ladders or pyramid schemes or the Illuminati or whatever. I don't really know. The Hierophant to me is just like all the shit, like even like the Admiral's Club at the airport feels like the Hierophant energy. It's like just like basically everything that we as a society have like agreed exists and is how we organize ourselves as humans is the Hierophant to me. So with that showing up in March, again, just kind of going off of what I've been talking about, maybe this is you joining forces with a powerful organization or starting your own powerful organization, but I think you're kind of like, definitely what keeps coming up for me is like not waiting for permission and like really claiming all this power and like, so therefore kind of, I think moving forward in some way and like finding kind of a place where you can establish, what it is that you're trying to build. So that might, again, mean collaborating with an existing corporation of sorts. I do not know, because this is a general reading. But that's kind of the vibe. Because then we move into April with the King of Cups. And this feels definitely like you being an emotionally magnanimous leader and you kind of being someone who is emotionally intelligent, like kind of like wise in dealing with conflicts, good at kind of making your team feel comfortable, good at getting people inspired, especially with the King of Wands coming up, but like especially the King of Cups, it feels like you're really moving up into a leadership role, and that in, you know, so in like March maybe you're finding out where your leadership is taking place, and then in April you're kind of like getting the hang of it, and you're kind of really connecting with people, I feel, and kind of, yeah, like, it feels like a connection, where you're, anyway, I mean, then we move into May with the Four of Swords, which is a meditative card, kind of like a chill out, time out, like, we have, like, this bird sitting on that sword, and it feels kind of like finding a peace within all of this. Like, it's like very kind of strange energy that's come up for you, but it really feels spurred by that injustice that you kind of experienced at the beginning of the year. And then it feels like the rest of the year is kind of you resolving that. And so with the Four of Swords in May, I feel like maybe you've made like a lot of forward progress and like a lot has happened and like you've really kind of been like promoted to king of this organization or whatever. At least metaphorically, and so then I think you're kind of like reflecting and processing and just taking it all in, really, because it sounds like things are going to be kind of ramping up a little bit, because then we move into June with the King of Wands, more of that king energy, and this is your fire energy with the wands, so it definitely feels like you're trying to inspire people still, and that you're kind of like moving into like heating things up, quite literally, where you're, maybe, like, for example, this could be, like, going public if you are, like, launching a new type of organization, so, like, everything up to this point has been kind of, like, building the foundations of it, and now you're, like, announcing it to the world, and with this being in reverse, it doesn't feel like things aren't going well, it just feels kind of like there's, like, maybe an overwhelm, or maybe kind of like a little self-doubt creeping up as things start to get more real and as you start to like really step into this leadership role, like you're kind of like also coming up against some of the challenges of leadership in June. So that's what I got for the first half of the year. Very great. And then I'll move into the second half of the year for you. And then we'll get a little angel. Alright, Alright. We have July, August, September, October, November, December. Okay, Sagittarius. Well, we have the Nine of Wands in July, which is, I think, just not maybe realizing, like, quite how much you got yourself into. Kind of like whatever new project it feels like a project you're starting that's new, but the Nine of Wands is about having more to go and, like, more to do, and then with it being in reverse, it just feels kind of like more, like, unexpected developments that you weren't planning on, that you're kind of, like, feeling a little unprepared for, and you're just having to deal with, and it's like you are doing it. I think there's just a sense of, like, frustration and, like, you know, having to push through to the other side to, like, make it work. It feels a little bit, yeah, like, not completely knowing what you got yourself into, but it's okay. And then we move to August with the World in reverse, and this feels like things are going well, and that, like, you're kind of, like, being recognized, and that, okay, like, kind of, like, honestly, an example of this energy would be, like, if you were launching a TV show or something, and then you, like, spent all this time launching the TV show, and then, you're getting the reviews, and most of the reviews are really positive, and, like, people really like it, and you made a good impact, but, like, you keep focusing on all the people who gave you bad reviews. That's what the World in reverse is to me. It's like, things are good, and you did well, and you've accomplished something, and you have a lot to be proud of, but, like, it's more about your perception and your perspective on, like, what you're taking in, and, like, that could be reflecting kind of your own internal, like, doubts about your worthiness, or your kind of, like, own being hard on yourself, or your own, like, kind of, like, fears about just, like, being happy, or your, like, kind of maybe old programming about giving a shit about what other people think. So, I guess just what I want to say is that you are really accomplished, Sagittarius, and that things are going well, and you are accomplishing these dreams, and you are getting what you want, but it just feels like you getting what you want is also kind of, like, not fixing your life magically, because that's an inside job, of course, and that's, like, kind of what you're recognizing. So that's really what it feels like you're coming up to. And then the, Seven of Wands, that's, like, kind of like being like kind of a maverick, which is totally your MO as a Sagittarius, but it's like being out on your own, being kind of like not a follower, and doing things differently, and then maybe getting a little bit of flack for that. And so I feel like with this coming up, especially after everything you've been through, it's like you might be a little bit defensive, and, like, you might be kind of a little bit doubting again, there's, like, just a sense of doubt that's coming up, maybe because you did step up into this huge ass king leadership role, like, really big responsibilities, and it's, like, fun to be that responsible, but it's also, like, you know, it's the Seven of Wands, Nine of Wands energy of kind of having to really deal with kind of all the complications that leadership comes with. So this feels a little bit like you standing on your own and kind of, like, having to do things without necessarily getting everyone's approval, but it is probably, I'm sure, in the highest good. But then in October, we're moving to the Three of Swords, and this just feels kind of like heartbreak, or just, like, you can't take it anymore, or you're, like, letting the negative stuff get to you a little bit too much, or just, like, the disappointment of, like, you realize you'll never be able to meet your own expectations, or, like, kind of, like, coming to terms with the fact that you'll never be able to make everyone happy. And so it just feels kind of like this is, in the October honestly feels like a breaking point for, like, a lot of people. So you certainly won't be alone in this, and maybe collectively it's just, like, whatever the fuck is going on in October is really, like, kind of bringing us down to our knees a little bit, to, like, have to surrender more, and to just kind of move through this pain of what we've been avoiding, perhaps. So I don't, like, love delivering that kind of a message, because, like, I just want things to be, like, everything's going great and we're doing amazing, and that doesn't require any pain or difficulty whatsoever to get through that point. But honestly, realistically, it's just, like, October is, like, just, like, a get through October month kind of thing, because then we're moving into November, which is so much better. Like, it's the brand new fresh start, it's the new beginning, it's, like, kind of feeling free, it's taking the leap of faith, it's starting over, it's kind of moving, like, it's like moving to a new place, it's having the, like, new chapter start. It's really great energy, and especially since it's coming right off of the Three of Swords, it feels like the Three of Swords brought you to this truth of, like, you starting fresh, you starting anew. And especially since we have, like, the Knight coming up, maybe this is kind of, like, you realizing that leadership role was, like, more than you wanted. Like, it's, like, sure, it sounds nice to be the boss or whatever, the CEO, but maybe you're realizing, like, I don't actually like that life, and I really want to just kind of, like, do my own thing, and I want to live a little bit smaller, a little bit more simply. And so I feel like ultimately by the end of the year, everything you've been through, it's like you're just a little bit happier, a little bit lighter. You've let go of some shit, and, like, maybe you've kind of, like, freed yourself from some, like, imposed expectations, and now you've, like, this deeper freedom. That's really what it feels like you're coming into, is a deeper sense of freedom, kind of having, like, lifted yourself of what were ultimately these burdens you carried with you throughout the year. And then, yeah, December, Knight of Wands in reverse. This kind of echoes that King of Wands in reverse that we saw in June, but this time, I think, as you're starting anew, you're still in your fire element, and you're still, like, about moving forward, but I think it is kind of, like, maybe just taking on a little bit less, and it's maybe you have, like, a hesitation or kind of just some, like, shock and, like, stress from everything you've been through, but it's really you getting that brand new beginning, and you getting a fresh start, and you getting kind of an opportunity to do things that are more in alignment with yourself. And I think you're just kind of moving through this year, taking on leadership to understand what leadership really requires of you, and then kind of understanding on a deeper level what kind of leader you want to be and what kind of responsibilities you want to take on. Maybe this means, like, delegating or that kind of thing. I don't know. That's what I got. So I hope that resonated with you. I'll pull a little angel to close out the reading, and then we'll get through this shit. I have too many cards. Okay. Okay. Hold on. I'll get it. There we go. The Angel of Beauty. Okay. Here we go. I see beauty in the mirror of life. All of nature is beautiful, and through its, I'm reading this backwards, through its order and rhythm, we know the truth of its laws. To feel the rhythm, to notice the sacred order in our lives, is to see the beauty in a grain of sand or behind the most challenging appearance. Yeah. So I guess I would say that you're really kind of, I think, getting a deeper sense of truth in 2020. 2020 overall sounds like it's going to be a little bit of a transformative, intense year for, like, a lot of people, so you're certainly not alone. But I'm wishing you all the best, and I'm rooting for you, and I love you, and I'll probably see you in January. Bye!